I would like to introduce myself. I'm Tamara DeRitter. I'm the co-chair for the Land Use and Transportation Committee for Rose City Park Neighborhood Association. And Kelly?
Kelly Davis, co-chair of Land Use and Transportation and a board member.
Terry Parker, Transportation and Land Use Committee member and a board member.
Okay. So do we have anybody on YouTube yet? YouTube Live? I got one call just about a minute ago looking for the live stream and we weren't on yet.
I don't see anybody on it.
Okay.
I'm watching on another computer.
Okay. Let's go ahead. We've got an interesting agenda. We've got minutes all the way from February. And then we've got new business, the Flatiron Building. I was understanding new things are happening according to Sharon. Hopefully she can join us here shortly. And then 50th and 5024 Northeast Fremont will be under new business. Then we've got the Flatiron, not the Flatiron, excuse me, the intersection at 720. And that's when most people will probably be interested in joining us. I also wanted to know if we needed to do any action on the nuisance house on 60th, and then update on construction projects, Rose Lane, and everything else. So is that agenda okay?
Fine with me.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll proceed. Has everyone reviewed the minutes for the February 20th?
My apologies. I downloaded them this morning and was gone all day and never got a chance to read them.
Okay, I made a few edits and I forwarded that to Kelly.
Yeah, I saw that with the, in regard to the residential info project.
Right.
So I move to accept the minutes as submitted with the corrections that Tamara has noticed.
Well, I'll second that, trusting you people.
Okay. Well, you can also abstain if you haven't read them. So all in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Okay, they pass. Then we have the minutes for our last meeting. And that was May 21st. Has everyone had a chance to look over those minutes?
Same here, same as what I said on the others. Sorry. In fact, that's what I thought you were talking about to begin with, was the ones that appeared in my email today, this morning.
And Sharon got back to me and said that, oh, she says I'm here.
Sharon's here?
I don't know where she is here. She says I'm here.
Maybe she's just on phone. If she's on phone, she should be able to be let in at least by phone. We don't hear you, Sharon. If you're there, we don't hear you anywhere. Let me put it in the chat. See if she's there. No.
Amazingly enough, I have not received a phone call for 2 days now. I've called out, but I haven't received anything. I hope my phone's working okay.
Okay.
It's just a landline, but.
So Kelly, do you know anything about the Flatiron Building that Sharon was alluding to in the discussion on email?
I do. In fact, I know a bunch about that. So okay. I reached out to Diane Hale from the Bureau of Development, BDS.
Okay.
And she sent me a 18-page document which talks about the review for early assistance land use planning. And it has attached to it all the various departments. And so essentially, BDS said no comments. PBOT said no concerns.
What's the proposal?
I'm sorry?
What is the proposal? What is being proposed?
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Hold on.
While he's looking, you know, there's quite a large grassy area on the back side of that building. You know,
There's a yard.
Yeah, it's the size of a front yard in a 5,000 square foot house. You know, an average, at least. On the back, it's on the back side, on the Alameda side.
I invited Ian to join us. He's the owner of Eclectic Kitchen, so he might join us as well.
So do you see the map that I have up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
So what they're proposing is essentially a encroachment into the right-of-way, which is shown in blue.
All right.
The red is the property itself, and evidently the right-of-way comes right up to the edge of the building.
Okay.
So what they are proposing is to use this area in blue for tables, outside dining, things like that.
That's a great idea.
Is that the street or is that sidewalk?
It's sidewalk and lawn.
Oh, okay. That I'm okay with that. If it was a
So he
street, I
doesn't do
wouldn't
anything
be.
to the curb. So anyway, I was saying that all the various departments, Water Bureau, Bureau of Environmental Standards, Urban Forestry, PBOT, nobody had any concerns. So then I called the owner of the coffee shop. So his name is, can we take a 2-minute break?
Yeah.
Sharon is emailing me. So give me a second.
Okay. I saw Ian's name jump in and then it disappeared again. Do you know if I don't see him on here?
I don't have anybody that says they need to be let in.
Okay. And I don't know what happened to our.
While you're looking, you're
Sure.
definitely sure this is not encroaching into the street itself, into Alameda.
Correct.
Okay. Because that is the way people get out of that area from, you know, onto Sandy and 60th and whatnot.
So Sharon is asking what the telephone number is. So I'm going to send her the link again.
Yeah. Hello.
I'm sorry.
I'm on the phone with you now. It's not a phone number. It's an internet connection. No, that's for the general public. I sent you an email today that has the link to it.
And I just sent it again to her.
Yep, he just sent it again. You bet. All right, bye. Okay.
So the gentleman I talked to is Winston Sandino.
Oh, Winston. Okay.
He owns the coffee shop / cafe.
Okay.
And he said that what the city is telling him is that 2/3 of the neighbors that got the notice need to approve of this street vacation. And he says right now he has about 50%. and Sharon got this kind of the same information. She talked to him also at the coffee shop. And I believe he said that he would like some help from the neighborhood to get the rest of the signatories. So Sharon might be able to say more about that. He went door to door some time ago. I think maybe before the COVID. Okay, Sharon is here.
Yay!
There she is.
Hey, Sharon.
Holy Moses, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to look for this. I'm sorry that I did not get this email from Tamara for some reason. I do not have it. Anyway, hello. I apologize.
No problem. Hey, we were just talking about the Flatiron building and the
Yeah.
And
The
wanted to
minutes
see
were
your side of it.
fine. Yeah, just backtrack a second. The minutes were fine. Kelly just had the wrong attendees and the wrong meeting, and everything else was fine. I think Michelle is trying to get on also. You might resend it to Michelle. She just texted me, what's going on? Am I in the wrong meeting?
No.
I can send it to her too.
While we're waiting, a question regarding the approval by the neighborhood. Do any of the businesses on Sandy and or the church have to, do they need to be contacted in relationship to this? You know, the church that's catty corner where we used to meet?
I believe they're within the 300 feet or whatever the notification process is.
So they would have to be contacted then if they haven't already been. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the question, Terry?
The church and the businesses that are close by on Sandy, like the herb shop that I'm looking at right now. I can see the church from where I'm sitting. I can't see the Flatiron building. It's behind the dental clinic here, or the clinic or whatever. But I was asking if they had to be contacted as part of the approval of the neighbors, and the answer
Yes.
is yes.
And he said, his name is Winston. I don't know what his last name is. I just, for some reason, I stopped there. I was driving by the other day, and he explained this map that you have. And he said he has sent via mail to the circumscribed area that he's supposed to send it to, and that he has 50% returned petitions. So I told him that maybe given your email contact system, you might be able to help boost that. He needs 75%.
Sharon, he told me 2/3, so either 66 or 75%.
Okay, he hasn't met it yet. Whatever it is, he hasn't met it yet.
He also said he went door to door, but because of the COVID, he was hesitant to do that. He had really good responses when he went earlier, but now he's kind of afraid to go.
Right, and they thought he was just a solicitor. So with the clipboard, he said the clipboard was a problem. He's very nice fellow.
Kelly?
Yeah.
I would like to share my screen that has the Portland maps. Can you undisable my screen?
So if I got out of it, can you do it now?
Maybe so. Let me
Share
try
screen.
again.
Okay, Michelle is here.
Here we go.
Nope. It doesn't.
Is that a no?
It's a no. Oh, well. I was trying to pull up Portland maps, and the area that they're showing in the diagram is actually part of the property, according to what I can see.
Oh, if I'm mute, I can't hear.
There she is. What's part of the property? That segment?
Yeah, there's the blue band around the building that Kelly had shown.
Yeah, he went up to the edge of the building. He said he owns about 1 foot away from the actual building.
Okay,
And from 1 foot to the sidewalk is city property. And the vacation, of course, is that just between that 1 foot area and the sidewalk. He wants to vacate that and buy it. And he said just to initiate the process was $10,000
oh my
to get
goodness.
this whole thing, yeah, going. And he doesn't even know how much the property is going to cost.
Now, when you talk about the 1 foot, is that on 59th or I mean,
All of it,
58th, or is that in the back of the
circumferential.
building where there's a big grassy area?
I think it's a circumferential around the building. He owns from
Okay.
the wall of the building 1 foot out. He
Okay.
physically showed me what it was.
Okay.
And then from that 1 foot to the sidewalk, and he only wants the south, I mean, he'd probably end up buying the whole, whatever it is on the east side. And if there's any on the west side and if there's any on the north side, but he really only wants on the south side because he wants to put French doors on the south side of that building so people could walk out into a patio area.
That
he
makes
would,
a lot of sense. I mean,
oh,
That's
it
like
would be,
two
God,
things
it would-
going on.
pardon me?
There's two things going on. One is he is wanting to purchase
Yes,
some of the right of way. And number two, he's wanting to then use that area beyond that, that includes the sidewalk for tables. And I think that's a use permit. I don't think it's a vacation.
he didn't mention taking the sidewalk for tables. He just wants to the sidewalk from what I understood. He just wants to buy the land that any other property owner would own. Don't we own our property to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk technically belongs to the city, and then the parking strip on the other side of the sidewalk from the sidewalk to the curb belongs to the city?
no, we own that.
Technically.
We own the property to the curb, and the city has a easement through the property for the sidewalk.
No, they don't.
They don't?
They don't. The city owns up to the house side of the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then the
Really?
right of way begins, and then, yeah.
The parking strip belongs, and he doesn't want the parking strip, to my knowledge, or the sidewalk. He just wants from the sidewalk to the building. And then he would use that grass area. And if you go there, you should go and park and stand on there, because if you look to the east along Alameda, where his property and the sidewalk and the grass strip lines up with those other properties on the east side of, what is that, 58th? On the east side of 58th, it's unusual how that all lines up. But, you know, if you stood there and saw him explain it, which he'd be happy to do for you, you'd understand. It's just a weird, odd thing. Oh, he also talked about that property on the east side of 58th.
Yeah.
And the owner, the one with the boarded up windows, he said the sewer backed up into that house. And so there's a countersuit going on regarding that. In fact, the city had suggested that they vacate from Alameda and 58th north to Sandy Boulevard. The city suggested that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but there's that house. I said, isn't that house a problem? And he said, oh God, you wouldn't believe the house, that problem, and the suit and the countersuit and the back taxes that are owed or whatever is owed. He said there's like 500,000 owed on that piece of property.
Okay, so that's another piece. Kelly, if you could go back to what you had shared with your map, and you're saying with that, a review with Bureau of Planning and Development Services, they're requesting a vacation
Yes.
or
Yeah.
a purchasing.
Vacation, the city owns it, so vacate it, and he wants to purchase it. I think there's a little strip on the north side too, I think, but I
Well,
didn't look.
This is larger than a 1 foot strip based on the scale.
Yes. Oh, it's like 8 feet between the 1 foot out from his property to the sidewalk is like 8 feet.
On Alameda.
Oh, I see.
On the Alameda side, it's a large area. And see the jog, if you go to the east, cross 58th, and go to the east, you see the jog where that whole next block is kind of shifted. It looks like it's shifted to the north. I mean, on just the way it is, it's really odd. Do those lines just demarcate the actual property line of the property and not the parking strip? Because if you took that blue line and continued it east along Alameda, there'd be a parking strip, yeah, along there. I think those are just the property, the actual property line. So it's really odd how it lines up. You'd have to kind of go there and stand and then look to the east and see it. They just don't quite line up exactly. So anyway, yeah, he wants to buy that blue, whatever that is, that does not include the sidewalk. And I think there's a little strip to the north.
So Tamara, I'm not sure that we have an action here. I mean, this is all good information, but
He wants
said-
support.
and
He wants,
what would we do?
well, he has, as I said, he believes he has 50% of the signatures he needs, but he needs to get that additional percent, whatever it is. And so I mentioned to him, I thought that he would log on tonight if he could ask, perhaps, since you have a large contact base, if you could, if somehow the reaching out with the emails that you have might hit the rest of those people in his area that he has to get the approval of to boost him up to the percent that he needs. So I honestly thought he would be on here tonight.
Well, he might be on through YouTube.
He might be, yeah. Oh, okay.
Do you see anybody?
You know,
I
this
switched
is
to
my
Zoom.
first time monitoring the YouTube channel at the same time as I'm doing the Zoom. And I don't see anybody has joined, but I could be,
When I was on the YouTube accidentally, it said that there were 4 people on,
huh.
or maybe even 11.
Okay,
Let's see, I'll try it on my phone.
that would be good. All right. Well,
Anyway,
that's what he,
I'm not
He-
sure that it makes sense to send it to all, what is it? 2,500 people that are on our email list.
right. I don't think it makes any sense either. And we don't actually have anything other than a drawing, and he's not here to
Yeah,
represent
it says
himself.
that 7 people are watching on YouTube.
Okay.
All right.
And those email addresses are neighborhood wide. We can't discern which ones are in this little tight area here.
Right,
Right.
but couldn't you just do it as a favor to this guy to hope that maybe you might catch some of the people in the catchment area? It would be helpful to him, especially in this, since he can't physically go to each place, and it's all sorts of problems. There's
I
8
suppose an
people,
email
8
could be
people now on YouTube.
To that effect, if you're close by,
I don't, I mean, what we could do is include it in the minutes and say, you know, if anyone's interested in helping him out, then they should step up.
can we put it on the website?
But that's a protocol thing. If we put one
Okay,
request like this on the website, then who do we have to allow everyone?
I understand. Yeah. Was just a thought.
It's a thought, I know.
So can we at least agree that we're generally supportive of what he has planned and put that in the minutes?
I take that as a motion.
I'm motion that we voice the Rose City Park Neighborhood Association Land Use and Transportation Committee's support for what Winston has proposed.
I second it.
And
And just to confirm, that is not going in, that is not going actually into the street itself.
Correct, and there's no utilities in this area, so I mean, it's like a minor miracle that there's none of the bureaus that have voiced any concern for this.
I don't see why they would. I'm concerned about people that live in that area getting in and out of their neighborhood. And that's why I'm concerned about not going into the street.
okay, to clarify the motion, it is referring to this map, and the map shows a blue marker that's around the red area. That is actually, the red area is actually the structure.
But it doesn't really show where the street is, if you know what I mean.
I understand, but I'm trying to explain it to people that are on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what we've got is the hatched blue area indicates the right of way that is in between the building and the sidewalk. It does not include the sidewalk according to what's been told tonight. So it's just the grassy area that is looking to be vacated so he can actually use that space as part of the building. Does everybody agree that that's the motion?
Well, I'm just wondering if it ought to be clearer in the motion. That's all.
That's what I just did.
I know, but you explained the motion, but it's not part of the motion.
Wait. Everybody, hold on. Hello.
There's Michelle. There
Okay,
she is.
Michelle.
Hold on.
Hello.
Hi, dear.
Hi, Michelle.
Like crazy feedback of a bunch of people talking on top of each other.
In the motion.
So I think I'm going to
I just did.
try to log out.
You explained the motion, but it's not part of the motion.
Wait.
It sounds like Michelle is listening to the YouTube at the
She's
same
doing
time.
both. She's both on
Yeah, and
Zoom
you can't
and
do that because
YouTube.
of the delay.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say there's a delay.
Yeah, I told her to go off the YouTube one.
Yeah, Michelle, get off the YouTube and you won't get the feedback. Because you're getting the feedback. Anyway,
Okay, did you re-motion?
do you take that friendly explanation as an amendment to your motion? Kelly?
Right, so that just clarifies that it's inside the curb.
Thank you.
Inside the curb and behind the sidewalk. Correct?
Right.
Yes,
Okay, so you got a motion, and who seconded it?
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay,
I
got it.
wanted to add that this fellow has to add a grease trap in there. And I said, why? And he said, I don't know. In case at some point in the future, this grease collection trap outside the building has to go through the building and collect it. And he's bending over backwards to try and make this, I would call it a troubled piece of property. Virtually everything that's been there has failed since I've lived here. So I'm
Oh,
so
that's hard.
supportive of him. If he could make this work, what a great addition that would be.
Yeah. It sounds like he's doing everything right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He's trying.
And the next topic, I believe, Kelly, you brought up?
So is this the 5024? Should we hang for a minute for Michelle?
She's on. For some reason, she can't, I don't see her. We could see her initially. I don't know what she did.
I don't see her either.
Okay.
I'm not on YouTube now. Okay, so I'm gonna say where I'm texting her. Okay,
Sorry, everybody, for
You're
these
okay?
technical difficulties.
I
If you're
just go
okay.
ahead.
Okay.
So these are Michelle's comments kind of on the 5024. So I reached out to the my contact, Daniel Sibley, and we asked him three things. We said, do you have a site or landscape plan that you can share? He sent it to me, and I'll show you in a minute. He said, we asked him, do you have a description of exterior materials? And he said a mix of vertical, horizontal, and smooth. Oh, here's Michelle.
Hi, now can you see me?
Yes.
We
And we hear
see
you
you.
too.
Okay, I don't know. That got really weird and crazy. You guys were like on loop and you kept saying the same things over and over again. It was really weird.
Yeah, you must. Yeah, boy.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
That was
there's
the
a
echo
delay.
virus.
There's a delay in the
Right.
YouTube. And so if you're logging on to both, then you hear both and it'll drive you crazy.
You know, it like switched me to YouTube. I don't even know how I wound up there. It just
Well,
switched me. So
I'm on Zoom, but in the upper right-hand corner, it says live on YouTube. So, but we're technically in a Zoom meeting. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
Michelle, you got a little bit of the 58, the Sandy, and the street vacation. Okay, so
Yep.
we're moving on to 5024 Northeast Fremont. So that apartments that we talked about last month. So I reached out to the developer and asked him if he had a site and landscape plan. He said yes, and he shared it with me. So I'll share that in a minute. He says, do you have a description? Or we asked him, do you have a description of exterior materials planned? And he said a mix of horizontal, vertical, and smooth cementous panel siding. So that's probably hardy plank. And then are any of the units ADA accessible, which was another one of your questions last week or last month. And he said, yes, both ground floor units will be type B ADA. And I can't remember what type B is. Do you know that, Michelle? You're muted.
yes, I am getting pretty good at type A's and B's. So type B just means that basically you can get into the apartment and then they can adapt it a little bit for somebody with full mobility issues or other needs, other mobility or what have you. So it's just not fully, it's not planned that way. It's adaptable for somebody who might want to do that.
Are these apartments for rent or are these condos for sale?
For rent.
For rent. And so if someone wanted to move in there that needed that accessibility, how would that occur?
Well, they have to adapt the unit, so they have to add some things, but they're very, it's a limited amount of things.
Could they deny
basically.
them rental because it had not been done?
I think if they're not offering full accessibility, they're not really complying, in my opinion. But I think they need to offer a full accessible unit if that's what the code in the city is kind of saying is the next phase here for people. So
Well, they
but-
finish these apartments, they're adaptable. Someone who needs that accessibility comes in to rent and they'll say, sorry, you have to pay the $10,000 in order to adapt it somehow, or no, we're not going to do that, or just
All good
seems to me they're not going to run that expense
yeah.
and deny that person access, so to say.
It's very
There's
possible.
really nothing we can do about that.
Well, but it's an untruth, isn't it, that it's available for people who have that sort of need?
well, I think we need to watch it and see if they do not put those amenities in, then we take it to the city council and say,
You mean if someone comes and wants to rent it?
well, if if we find out, if we do a tour and find out that those amenities are not in the existing apartments being letted out, then I don't know how the city can say that these are considered accessible.
Right, but Kelly just said they're type B and Michelle said that means that they're adaptable. That doesn't mean they're finished to the accessibility standard. They're just adaptable at some later point in time.
Okay.
So how is,
And my
how is,
question on that is that the bathrooms would still need to be compliant. And I don't see that being really possible. As I recall, I mean, I'd have to look at the plans again, but
every one of them need to be compliant?
well,
in
no,
their
the type
finished
B.
state?
The
type B one.
the type B ones would need, I mean, they need a bit more room than what they're showing there. You could not adapt that bathroom is my hunch, but from what I saw, you have to provide like the wide enough door and a decent threshold. It can't be too, you can go up to 1/2 inch at the door, and then inside the unit, you know, you should have good clearances, but it's not necessarily required. But the bedroom should have a decent door, and then the bathroom should be able to be adaptable, which is, you know, usually at the tub is the problem. It's the clearances around the tub itself, shower
And
tub.
turning a wheelchair. In that visitability definition, you had to be able to turn a wheelchair 360 degrees, I believe.
Well, you need a
Yeah.
5-foot radius.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's in a full compliance. So a type B, you know, you might be able to do like transfer and some other maneuvering. It could be a little bit smaller, but you should have like space for grab bars, for instance. And that does have particular dimensions that it should sort of conform to. And that's not, you know, they looked very small from what I remember. That was, I think, why I brought up the question. I was like, well, are any of these accessible? Because the unit size is very small, but then the bathrooms looked tiny.
Do we know whether the
Okay,
develop,
at this point, what action can we take? Or do we take an action? Or is this all for information?
Well, I'd like the question answered that if a person needed it to be adapted for their needs, would they do it? I guess, I don't.
do we
Okay,
know,
so maybe
know what-
Kelly, could you contact them back, or Sharon, do you want to have the phone number and
I
call
can,
them yourself?
I can do it. This is the fellow that came to the meeting,
Yeah,
that fellow.
I got a
No,
question.
this is
I
a
got a
different guy.
question. Do we know whether the developer is going to retain ownership of this particular piece of property, or is he going to build it and sell it and pawn off any adaptability to the next owner?
We asked him that question in one of the meetings, and he said for the time being, they were going to retain ownership.
Okay, I
believe.
couldn't remember, so, okay.
But Sharon, that's for a different apartment building.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Not,
okay.
not this one. The
Oh,
guy that came, it was a bigger, this is only like 10 units, and it's what, one site down from the gentleman that came with the
oh,
other.
okay, okay.
So that's a question we ought to ask as well.
I can do that.
And you know, that's going to make a difference in the quality of their, of the building materials they use as well.
Okay. And Michelle, I asked for a landscape plan. So the plan up in front of you is their site plan, landscape plan. And the only thing it has here is number 19 is a small tree, 1.5 inch caliper, and then lawn. I think that's all I see here.
Okay. Well,
It is what it is.
That's between it and the property to the west, the one on the corner.
Yeah.
The west or the east? I saw a
West.
sewer line in there. The top is north, isn't it?
yep.
Up is north.
So that would be to the east.
Oh, to the east, okay.
Yeah, that's the east. And it says, this is a proposed landscape wall. I'm not sure what that is.
Probably like a living wall, maybe. They'll do like a green wall.
That would be
or a living
nice.
wall. That is nice. It's not very much space for all those people though, huh? It's very
Nope.
There's not much space. I watched them demolish that the other day. I parked across the street and watched them hand take it down. The roof collapsed and
I don't think
were
any
yelling.
children would really be super happy in this kind of situation.
Well, it is at least some space.
Yes.
It's better
They
than some of the units we've seen on Sandy. So,
the workers there would not accept one of the flyers regarding the intersection.
okay.
They could have cared less.
Well, speaking of, are we done with this and we can go to the other meeting? Or
Yeah.
the other topic?
Yeah.
Okay. And I have not seen Emily. So
She's probably on YouTube.
Last time she joined the
I did send her an invite.
Zoom. So you sent her the Zoom,
I did.
okay?
So Emily, if you are out there, you can join us on Zoom. I sent you an email.
YouTube says there's 7 people watching and that includes me. So
Okay.
And one of those is me.
one of those, okay, so there's 5. So
There's actually 5. Okay, got it. The topic tonight is talking about the intersection of Northeast 50th and Fremont. And at our last Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting, we had gotten a presentation from Emily Kortich and her husband, and discussing the lack of visibility as you're going northbound on 50th and not being able to see primarily to the left. I think the right actually has, looking eastward, it has good visibility, but if you're looking to the west, you don't. You end up with a car fairly close to the intersection. Nothing was talked about regarding the parking on 50th, although since that meeting, that has come up as a topic by one of the residents who gave me a call. Anyway, the approval that the Land Use Committee generated was saying, okay, we want a vision triangle, and that would be 15 feet from the apex inward. So no parking would be within that area. And since then, there's a Vision Zero requirement that I found that actually says, no, we need to do the setback from the skirting of the sidewalk. And that would encroach quite a bit more into that parking area, or take at least one parking area out that on Fremont. So the board actually remanded it back, because our approval went to the board remanded it back so we could discuss it a little bit further, notify the neighbors, make sure that if we say, yeah, we want to have the vision triangle or vision clearance, it doesn't harm anyone in any great manner. I have tried to get a hold of the Eclectic Kitchen owner, Ian Bramson. I've called at least 10 times, and no one seems to pick up at any point in the day.
do they live in that attached, there's something attached to that building to Eclectic. It's a duplex or something. It doesn't have a frontis on Fremont. That would be immediately to the west of Eclectic. And I walked around the back, but I felt nervous about walking into their parking area and then up to their, what I thought were their back doors to leave a flyer. I did leave one for Eclectic.
Okay.
So I don't know if he lives there or not, but those two seem to be related somehow. The Eclectic building and the duplex, because there was a carport or something that looked like it attached.
Is that on the southeast corner?
Yes.
It
No,
is.
the southwest corner.
Southwest.
Southwest corner, excuse me, you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm remembering the map that we showed the last time.
Right, and the property immediately to the west of Eclectic. And by the way, all those corners are being changed now to accessibility corners. So it has a wider, I call it a flange, out kind of fans out
Mhm.
in each direction there. So Eclectic is losing some parking in front of it for sure because of that new, they've marked it out. I don't know if they've started building it yet, but they've marked it out for that new corner access, sidewalk access. So things have changed, I think, because of that. The people that I came in contact with, which wasn't a lot, but there still were a handful of them, they were like, this is gonna be a cluster, you know what? They were not happy about what was gonna be going on in their neighborhood and that intersection. So I passed out 30 flyers.
Okay.
And so I caught everybody who would have been an immediate, including the apartment building behind Mike and Patty's. Someone let me into their foyer so I could leave a flyer for them.
Were the
Sharon,
people
is
upset?
anyone leaving a message on the chat line at YouTube?
You know, I can't figure out how to do the chat thing on YouTube to allow it. So sorry about that.
Sharon, in what way were the people upset?
Well, they just knew that trying to enter onto Fremont either direction was going to be a problem. And they were upset just about parking in general because multiple places said no parking, no parking, no parking. So it was both. I don't see anyone who's chatting. There is a live chat icon on here on YouTube, but I don't see any feedback at this point.
Okay.
So what's our action here?
Were we going to take a poll of some sort of the neighbors or something
Regarding what?
regarding the removal of the parking or talk to businesses or something like that?
Well,
We're talking about maybe one or two spots, probably one, but there, as I recall, there was a driveway. There was about a room for 2 cars, but there was a driveway, which may make it a car and a half. Of some sort of the neighbors or something?
yes, but you're asking to be a citywide enforcement.
The removal of the parking or talk to businesses or something like that.
Well,
We're talking about maybe one or two spots. Somebody's
I hear
YouTube.
somebody's on YouTube.
I am.
Okay.
I was just trying to check on the messages. I don't see
Yeah.
what the action could be here, except if we agree that we want to go ahead with the vision clearance.
And that's at every intersection. It's not just that intersection. It's all, it's across the city. Isn't the statement is this is already in force and you're not enforcing it? We want you to enforce what's already existing.
Well, I think what we can do is make a request to PBOT to come out and look at it.
I think that's right.
Didn't
That's
Zeb say
that's
that-
basically as far as we can go.
Didn't Zeb say that they were planning on repaving Fremont, and that when they repave Fremont, that they would look at these vision triangles? I didn't make that up, did I?
That sounds correct to me, Kelly. I feel like yeah.
I just received word that the screen says that the chat has been disabled on live stream.
Yeah, it says this action is turned off for content made for kids when I push the live chat.
Okay, Kelly, can you change that?
So Ed said when we went through this, he said there's an icon at the bottom that you click on that enables you to chat for kids or adults or whomever.
Right. Well, kids is one thing and you don't use that one.
And I don't see anything on the YouTube that says to do that. Now,
Yeah,
maybe-
the live chat is faded. And so when I click it, it says this action is turned off for content made for kids.
So
And I
maybe
can-
it's because I have not signed in with the Rose City Park password. So let me do that.
Okay,
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talking. Well, I haven't been at that intersection for some time, but I do know that, at least in my neck of the woods, the streets are very narrow. And if people end up parking really close to the intersection, let's say in my situation on Broadway, and when it faces 47th, you cannot get two cars going abreast. One has to stay back so the other one can come in.
But even on Tamara, even on Halsey Street, on my street, which is a fairly wide street going into Halsey, the cars from Providence Home Services will park with almost with their bumpers hanging over the corners or the corner of the sidewalk. And for me, I can see the cars coming westbound because there's a hill a couple of blocks away and I can see them coming down the hill. But I can't see the cars coming from the east at all, especially if there's a whole line of cars parked there. So it's not just necessarily a narrow street. It's the fact that you've got to pull out into a lane of travel before you can see cars coming if you want to make a left-hand turn.
forget left hand. Even if you tried to turn right to turn east off of that intersection, you're taking your life in your hands.
I understand, but that's what I'm getting at is that you can't see with the cars there.
Right.
And so,
Well,
so
that's a problem everywhere.
It applies everywhere on these, busier streets.
Right. And, you remove parking on Fremont, then we've got more parking in the neighborhoods, and that's a problem too.
And then you build an apartment building without parking and it makes it even worse.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't see the chat function still.
Yeah, me either. Could you have the person call in? You could state well, how would you do that? State your phone number and they could call you?
Yeah, I could tell them that. If you have a comment, please give me a call. My phone number here is 503-706-5804. I have my phone right here. So
706-5804.
correct.
Correct.
So if anyone wants to call and give us some comments, please do so. 503-706-5804. So you can text me comments, you can call in comments. It's a cell phone, so it works. And I apologize for the lack of technology here.
Yeah.
Still learning.
Well, I logged into the YouTube site and it says chat is disabled for this live stream. And I don't know how to undisable it.
Well, they know how to call now, so they can call Tamara.
Again, 503-706-5804. I'll put it in the screen on chat so you can see it.
Okay.
Oh, Deborah's calling. Oh, and she's not.
Deborah, former board member.
Yeah.
She did not get a flyer. She was down further.
I sent her an email with telling her to join me at Zoom.
Good.
Hello. Hi, Deb. Okay, I'm so sorry. Well, You're here now. I will put you on speakerphone, okay? Are you okay? Can I put you on speakerphone? Okay, we can hear you now, Deb.
Hey, hi guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Yes, we can.
yes.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. Nice to see all your faces. So I was okay.
She should mute her YouTube.
Yeah. Yes.
If you mute your YouTube, it will work better.
If I mute my YouTube, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. See, I don't have any command. Oh no, I have a mute. Okay. How we doing? Is that better?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, you were getting feedback otherwise.
Okay, great. Well, this is an important topic. I'm glad you guys are addressing it. Yes, I handed out flyers and talked to a lot of businesses on Fremont as well. I don't know if everybody knows me, but yeah, I used to be on the board, and I'm a business owner, and I also live right on the street.
And this
Can you hear me?
this is Deborah Field, who is owner of Paper Jam, folks.
Okay.
So I have her on the phone right now, and she's speaking through the phone to the rest of you. Okay.
Okay.
So continue.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Continue?
Yes.
Okay. So you've heard me so far, everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I have a couple comments to make about this as a business owner on the street. Yes, visibility is tricky, and it's like that in all of our wonderful neighborhood businesses districts around the city. I hear Tamara's lips, but I don't hear her talking. Are we having a hard time hearing me?
No, I can hear you fine. You're just
Okay,
you're
okay.
looped in slower. I mean, there's a
Slow down.
it comes through on YouTube slower than it, or a couple seconds later than it does on Zoom.
Gotcha. So there's a delay.
Right.
Okay. Oh, this wonderful world we're living in. So what I wanted to share is I hear Tamara's lips. I see Tamara's lips.
Just
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
that?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. So issues to consider in this discussion arena about parking on Fremont, about visibility to cars pulling out, is obviously we want safety, but also parking is already somewhat limited, guys. And part of being a business owner is you want your customers to be able to park so they will shop in your stores. So we, as business owners, confront that every day. It's already somewhat of an issue. It's already become an issue. Now, of course, with the pandemic, there's a lot of places to park. But when we get up and running, it becomes an issue. And so many of the business owners have explained to me that a lot of people park in their parking lots because they can't find a place to park to do business. So that's the business end of things. And I guess what I want to add to the discussion is I am a lover of Portland and its wonderful business districts. And I would hate to see that go away. And small businesses are already challenged right now for a variety of reasons. So you start interfering with parking and it becomes even more challenging. So we just need to weigh all those facts, right? We need to weigh them all, like the value of having a walking neighborhood and being able to shop, having people drive to the destination as well, and keeping those businesses healthy so they can stay here. Because if they go away, who knows what will the landscape will look like? You know, we're already threatened by that a little bit, by increased threats. So I just want us all to be in this together, to know the whole scope of the situation, from the residents to the business owners. What's going to be the best solution for all of us? So that I'm a real believer in win-win, and I want everybody to feel like this is going to be the best solution for all of us. But I want to make sure the business voice is heard in this, that it's hard for us to lose more parking. So that's what I wanted to add to the discussion. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
I have one.
I do too. When you're
My question is does the speed limit lower before it gets to this point on Fremont, or is there a way that we can push that slow down further east?
Yeah, no, it lowers at Hal's Automotive at about, what is that, 50 seconds. Goes down to 20 miles per hour.
Okay.
20 miles per hour is too fast, period. I think that all should be dropped to like 15. It is so tight.
How about coming from the other direction, going westbound?
Where does the 20 mile? I would think it's probably close around
The school.
Hey, that's a good question. I noticed it more the other direction. I know it would be around Beaumont Middle School, and it might even be further west. I don't think it's right at 33rd, but I'm not really sure about that one.
Okay.
20 miles an hour is the standard business speed on streets.
That's a unique street, though. It's
And
so
it was lowered from 25 or from 30 when Deborah Bishop was around as our neighborhood person, not at PBOT, but at
Liaison
yeah.
for BPS. Yes.
BPS, that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
still too fast. Still too fast.
How about on the other side, on the east side? Do you know where it drops there?
Al's Automotive. Is that what she said? What's that, about 50 on the other side of the veterinary clinic?
Yeah, it's 20. Can you guys hear me? It's 20, right around the veterinary clinic.
You
What
sure it
street
is
is that?
the cemetery?
Right at the edge of Rose City Cemetery.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're going, maybe I'm being confused. If you're traveling west, but you're on the east side.
Traveling west on the east side of the site.
But it's still Fremont is a pretty major thoroughfare for a lot of traffic, you guys. So it's really hard. I mean, I see people speeding all the time on Fremont.
Yeah.
They're not going 20. And so it's that dilemma in this city when you have a kind of a main street and people are traveling from point A to B and they just want to get there. They don't want to slow down.
Maybe they need speed bumps. Entering the business district, maybe there should be speed bumps and lower it to 15, hoping people will go 20. It's way too narrow for 20.
Thank you so much for your input, though, Deb. This listening to you and hearing from the perspective of a business owner really helps us in making our considerations for
Okay,
this.
well, that's good because I think it adds to the whole picture of what's going on here. And I mean, I think many of you know I also live right on Fremont. I live on 48th and Fremont. So I also have my business and I live here. So this is my hood.
Yes.
And
Does your home face Fremont?
Perspective, I think.
Does your home face Fremont?
And it's been kind of nice with the pandemic because it's been quieter.
I bet.
With the traffic.
Now your home,
But,
your home also faces Fremont, right?
Yes, yes. No. Our home faces 48.
Okay.
Yes, and there is a lot of construction now with all those accessible corners going on, which will be lovely when they all get done. But they've been doing all of Fremont from like 52nd down to 41st or beyond, beyond. So it's been kind of crazy, but that's my perspective. Any other questions?
Yeah, me. Hi, it's Michelle, and
Michelle.
I'm just curious. Since how long have you had a business there and lived on Fremont?
10 years.
10 years.
So, do you feel or have you seen an increase or a decrease in bicycle use and bikes for your businesses?
You mean bicycle use going to businesses?
Yeah, but foot traffic versus bicycles versus cars. I mean, what are the primary?
Yeah. Well, that's sort of hard to answer. I think because we are a walkable neighborhood business district, you get a lot of people from the neighborhood walking to our locations.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a fair amount of people that drive in to come to restaurants.
Right.
So, and there's quite a few, like right across the street from us is half a block that's designated to bikes. And the same thing is true in front of Jim and Patty's, right across from this new apartment building. There's a good section of a block dedicated to bikes, so that takes away car parking.
But are those bike racks full ever?
What's that?
Are the bike racks ever full?
No, never,
So
ever.
I think that's the important thing, Kelly, to make sure to include in the notes, because
Yes.
this is Portland's progressive approach is that they think we don't need to change speeds and we don't need to accommodate cars because everybody's going to be using those, that huge area of bikes. And I know I've gone down Fremont. I admit that I've lived in Portland 20 years and I used to use Fremont and I liked going faster, but it's changed a lot. But it was a great way to get through town. But I don't really do that anymore. So I just think it's interesting that, yes, they've made the choice to do this on Fremont for your business, and whether or not that's helped you is more my, I think what we should, that's something we can do in this committee is just sort of report back and make sure PBOT understands when they make these decisions. We have in our notes saying, well, but those aren't really being used according to a business owner who's been there 10 years.
Right. No,
So,
I agree. They're not. I mean, I have a couple of my customers that ride bikes, the majority are cars.
Yeah, I mean, I think Portland is still majority cars, and this is the dilemma at this time, how much more we should be balancing this bike infrastructure that has been very well developed and is still being underutilized, basically. And
Just to
so
say, just as a comment
yeah,
to what Michelle is saying, approximately 8% of the trips in Portland as a whole are by bicycle, and approximately 80% of the trips are by car.
Are the bicycle racks in the street taking up a parking space, or are they on the sidewalk at Mike and Patty's? They're in the street?
They're in the street.
Yep.
No, they're in the streets, yeah.
Mm.
They're taking up one car space, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the question I would have for you is regarding the safety issue of people who are using cars, and you would be one of them, exiting off of a numbered street onto Fremont, turning either east or west. People have expressed safety concerns. How would you resolve that? In a car, trying to turn.
Asking me, Sharon?
Yes, I'm asking you. You as a business owner has your perspective about keeping parking spaces. Some have expressed the cars are causing visibility problems and safety issues. How would you resolve that?
Well, let me just tell you my experience. I don't know. I'm not a traffic expert, or transportation, but I can tell you that I live on the corner of 48 and Fremont, and Alameda Brew House was, when it was open, was across the street. A lot of traffic, and I would see people have that issue with turning right or left, but there were never any accidents, and people just, and especially if the speed is lower, it seemed like it worked out okay. And I'm not just saying that. I just feel like it seemed like it worked out okay. People know you got to really look, and I feel that way about certain intersections. And you know what? I kind of avoid them. I try to go to an intersection that's a little more maybe clearer, but I haven't seen it be a huge issue. Other than we kind of know that's how our business districts are, because people live right there, and then we have these wonderful little business streets. So I don't know. It's just a hard situation, you know. Like I said, I want it to be a win-win for everybody. I'm not one of these that thinks, okay, businesses have to have their way. But I also feel like residents need to understand our plight as business owners and how important it is to have parking. So that's one of the reasons I like to have a voice in this, because I really want everybody to work together and come up with the best solution for everybody. And I know you can't please everybody, so I'm not an idealist, but at least the people that are making decisions at least get to hear the full scope of the situation.
On the north side of Fremont, as I recall, a number of the streets, or at least several of them, have angle parking, which allows for more parking than parallel parking. I mean, the cross streets, not Fremont.
We don't have any angle parking.
You don't have any angle parking. I thought there was on a couple of the streets.
No, we don't have any angle. It's all parallel.
Okay.
That would take up even more space on Fremont.
No, I'm not talking about on Fremont. Yeah. I'm talking about on the numbered streets on the north side.
Oh.
Oh, you're talking about some of the numbered streets. You're right. There is angle parking on the numbered streets. Absolutely.
Yeah, right next to the hardware store.
Yes, hardware store, and maybe another block over. Right there at 47th, Amalfi's, and that's off Pizza now. There's some angle parking there, I think.
And I'm wondering if there's more opportunities to do that if a couple of spaces, if some corner spaces were removed. That's what I'm getting to. Or is it maxed out that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the street's still pretty narrow.
I don't mean on Fremont. I mean on the angled streets, or I mean on the numbered streets. If there was additional opportunities to put in angled parking.
I'm pretty sure they've maximized this.
Yeah, they probably have, but I'd have to go look. It's just a question, you know. I mean, I'm going by business.
Deb, I have one question for you. In front of the Eclectic Kitchen, there's actually a driveway curb.
Yes.
And no one parks in that driveway curb, even though it's not used.
Exactly.
So
because
is there
there's that apartment that Sharon was talking about at one time? Maybe it was a driveway.
Right.
I was just noticing it the other day because I was across the street.
Is there a way in which Eclectic Kitchen could go ahead and say people can park there?
Maybe. I mean, I think they'd have to get approval from the city, and then they would have two parking spaces. Like if they just took out one parking space and maybe went 50, you know, not such a big swap, but just at least so you couldn't park right next to the curb, which I think we do anyhow, don't we? Most people can't park right up to the curb on our street, right?
Right up to the corner, you mean?
Yeah, right up to the corner. I mean corner. I said curb. I mean corner. So the
well, that's already
too. But I know even American Family Insurance across the street has challenges with people coming to their office. And they're the other business that would be affected. Jim and Patty's. I left a flyer there, but they didn't. And I think you did too, Sharon.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that driveway, Tamara. You know, if they could get that approved. And the other thing I wanted to say about Eclectic is that I think a lot of people that go to Eclectic are from the neighborhood. I think they're a real neighborhood cafe. So people are walking. So, you know, maybe they have a different opinion about that they don't care so much that they don't have parking right in front. I don't know, but it's certainly important for us to just make sure we chat with all those parties and hear their feedback.
Okay.
So yeah, I love this creative idea, Tara. Yeah, creative idea. Can you do angle? You know, thinking outside of the box. Isn't that what it's all about? Problem solving.
That's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
Okay. Any more questions for Deb?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. All right. You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I emailed Emily to call in, no response. If she
I've
had
got no one waiting. Again, if you want to call in and give us your thoughts, give me a call at 503-706-5804. Waiting on your phone. Call. Okay. At this point, I think the original approval, which was to just do a vision triangle and not do what the city wants, which is the vision 0, will do enough, which is the 15-foot setback. If they still
Isn't that law right now? At every intersection, every corner, you need to be set back X number of feet, and people don't follow it.
It may be.
I thought it was.
There is a law that says you can't park within a certain
10 feet of the intersection.
something. I don't know what it is.
I think it's more than
I
that.
remember from my driver's ed class in Oregon is that it was a 10-foot from the corner.
That sounds logical.
Maybe, yeah.
So our discussion last time, we acknowledged that there was an existing law and we just wanted them to enforce it. We're not asking them to create anything new. We're just asking them to enforce what's existing. If they want, if because of Vision 0 or the triangle that they need to increase it more, we're certainly want what's
Well, that was the fear, is that they would impose the Vision 0, which would actually encroach
even
from-
further.
Yeah, it would start at the lip of the sidewalk where the crosswalk begins. Now the crosswalks are, or the skirting is not perpendicular to the roadway. It's actually sweeping towards the corner in these locations. There's not two curb cuts, there's only one. Is that correct?
You mean with these new accessibility ramps? It's
Right.
just tapered up to the curb.
It's
At
tapered up to the corner, right?
It
Right.
depends on whether they extend the sidewalk out into what would have been the street, or whether they just put in a curb ramp. And it varies from intersection to intersection, whether they put a curb extension in or whether it varies. But I think that 10 feet is still from where the parking strip or the grass strip ends, and the sidewalk from the cross street actually comes in. I think that's where they start numbering the 10 feet, not from necessarily the center of the curb of a corner of the sidewalk. If you understand what I'm saying.
Well, whatever it is, people don't observe it. They park right up as close as they can to the sidewalk. And that causes a real visibility problem, even for pedestrians.
Even over the sidewalk.
Even pedestrians, it makes it difficult. You have to go out in the street to be seen. Hopefully someone will see you. Hopefully they'll stop. Otherwise you're taking your life in your hands. Frankly, I think safety supersedes parking spaces.
Okay, so do we have a motion?
Just a sec. So I have an email from somebody who was evidently trying to comment. And this is from Michael Dumont. He says, I trust you realize that will be 28 units between 50 and 51st with no parking. With some increase in overnight cars, there is an unprecedented need to enforce a no parking zone of at least 15 feet from the corners. Also, the bus stop zone west of 51st on Fremont needs to be expanded so the bus can pull all the way to the curb, so the bus can effectively drop off passengers and also be completely out of the flow of traffic.
That's at 51st. There's a bus stop there.
West of 51st.
West of 51st. Yeah.
You could extend that, but TriMet drivers are told to leave their rear ends hanging out.
Anyway, go ahead, Tamara. I'm sorry. I just one more
I
time.
agree with them. So, you know, it's just going to get even worse. Go to Seattle and try to find a parking space in the Capitol Hill area. Oh my God, you blow a tank of gas driving round and round and round. These cars are parked right up to within a breath of the sidewalk at the corner. You know, it's just insane. The visibility is horrible. So I agree with this fellow. So you get all this additional parking, maybe even, how did he get 58 additional cars? Would that be 2 per unit? Yeah, 2 per unit.
Okay, we have a couple options. One is we can make a comment online, which is what I put in the agenda, and say our piece as individuals, or we could make a recommendation to the board and say, we're going to stick with the 15 feet and we want to put that in as Rose City Park through one of these online comments, or we can send them a letter.
How about both?
Whatever we do, I think that we need to have PBOT talk with the business community or the business association that's on Fremont. I think that is real important.
Good luck,
And
Terry. They don't
never do.
talk.
I know it. They want to dictate. I
They don't
understand
talk.
that.
They do dictate. There is no they want to. They do.
I know
We
that.
She
just
did
got
pass flyers.
We just got denied again for having accessible parking for residents that are 80 years old plus in a downtown location. PBOT is denying us access.
I know.
I think it's like a Title II issue at this point with PBOT, but they won't.
Well, they're biased. They're biased against the motorists.
Well, this lady did beyond what I did, and she took flyers and she notified the business district. And to my knowledge, she's the only one who has participated. I think that's adequate notice. You've given them a voice and access. You know, you could post on the website if they want to write in a comment, but I say if we can make a comment online and send a letter to enforce existing laws, or to do, if it's even further than that, with Vision Zero and the 50 greater than 15 feet. I think safety triumphs parking at this point.
I agree with Deborah that it needs to be a win-win. I mean, I certainly see the need to, you know, make the corners more safe visibility wise, but I also see the need to replace that parking somehow.
How about you, Michelle?
I mean, I guess my motion would be to like have at least a committee draft a letter, of some sort of joint response of action, like enforcing what is current in the code. That would be a good one. Another course of action would be more of like a request, like, you know, these are the goals and objectives of Vision Zero, and these proposals are not meeting them, you know, for these reasons. I mean, I guess I'm a compromise person at like 10 feet. You know, if you have 10 feet and it's enforced, I mean, that's the thing that is not happening. There's no enforcement. So, um, yeah, there needs to be an infrastructure change, meaning like a curb bulb out where people cannot park, you know, because otherwise people will just creep and park and they'll just do it and then there's no enforcement. So
This
I think
vision,
10 feet is reasonable, you know, that's a car length. I think a Peabot parking space is 8 feet
I think
wide
it's
by
18. I think it's 18,
18.
Michelle.
Right, 8 though wide, like by 18. So, you know, 10 feet is, you know, it's half a car length. I don't know if that's enough, but I do think we should continue to draft a letter of like joint response from this committee about these kinds of concerns though, and especially on the behalf of the neighbors who have them. They're real. And as a pedestrian, I get scared across streets and people aren't driving slower at the end of the
they
day.
Right.
They're not. So,
But, you know, I do feel for the businesses that need to have parking somewhere. And maybe given that we're having the apartments coming in, we ought to start thinking about having a parking area, you know, plan. So people, or put signs up that they're not supposed to park for more than 2 hours, something like that. So we don't have storage in these places. I do think it would be nice to have a rapid crossing light at that one site. It's the crosswalk is just to the east of this intersection, and if they had a beacon light or something like that, I think that would help people slow down. You know?
and flag, and those orange flags that
Yeah.
they use both. I see this Vision Zero's 20 feet setback, right?
20 feet
You're-
from
They didn't just
The
pull
skirting.
that number out of the air. You trying to negotiate it, split it down the middle, cut the baby in half at 10 feet. They're not going to go for that. Their engineers have decided that 20 feet allows proper visibility. I just try to negotiate all you want. Did Cully contact you by any chance? Anyone from the Cully neighborhood?
No.
Because across the street to the north of Fremont, in the Cully neighborhood, there is space out there that could become a parking area. There's American Chimney back there. There's other areas that perhaps could become helpful for people who live there. You know, maybe they could. So maybe the committee, if there's going to be one, could involve Cully.
One of my concerns is still about the businesses, because Deborah was right. If you limit parking, some of those businesses, particularly the eateries, are probably suffering like everything right now.
right.
And, you know, I mean, we can't keep doing things to businesses that don't allow people to get there. And one other quick comment, if we bring the bus situation into it, Peabot would be likely to be building a bus platform where the whole bus parks in the street, because that's what they're doing lots of places, like on Sandy. You know, they'll make it so that the bus stops in the street and blocks traffic, not just the rear end sticking out.
Okay, and Kelly, what do you think about this topic?
You know, I thought that they should paint the curbs and put the no parking signs up, and I don't know how we get that to happen.
Maybe that should be our recommendation.
Hey, Kelly, there's a lot of graffiti going on. Maybe we can just get some yellow paint.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting arrested for graffiti.
Okay, so now I've got paint curbs and no parking signs. I've got everything from 10 feet to 20 feet, which is the 20 feet is Vision Zero. Do we have a motion? do we want to go forward with this? Because we know if we ask them to implement what they've got in the books, it will be a 20-foot from the skirt of the access ramp.
I think they really need to work with the business community.
So
And-
ask PBOT to come and work with the business community.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
You want to do that for us, Terry?
Terry, I'm emailing them and they don't even respond when they need to on a project that we're paying them to
I
respond
understand.
to. Like, they don't even answer their emails.
They didn't even want someone to join us. They thought it was a done deal. You know, it's like, God, go ahead and just do it. You know. Yeah. And I said I didn't want to be the death knell for Eclectic Kitchen.
Wait, are the bikes currently in the middle of the street or at the intersection? Because maybe the bike racks should just move to the corners, right? If they're not, and then
There's not any bike racks in front of Eclectic Kitchen.
no.
Where are they in relation to Electric Kitchen?
Across the street in front of Mike and Patty's. They should go
Right.
on the sidewalk.
Well,
You
maybe
think
they
those-
should be moved across the street.
Well, I'm just thinking if we need the 10 feet or the 20 feet, I mean, why can't that be bike parking? Because at least it's low and you can see over it, you know, that's
Well,
all.
that's what, and that's really a good idea, Michelle, is to move the bike racks to the other side of the street where the visibility is needed.
Right.
I mean, that might be a win, at least a possible win-win or a partial.
They're already on the north side of Fremont in front of Mike and Patty's in the street.
Right at the intersection where they need to be.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Go
why
on,
can't they move to the south side of the street? That's what we're getting at, where we need the vision. In front of
need
the
it up there
electric kitchen.
How does that help Eclectic Kitchen with their parking? You take it up with
Well,
bikes.
they can park on the other side of the street. You're replacing one parking space for another is what you're doing. You're just moving it from one side of the street to the other.
We'll add 58 cars onto Fremont. It's just going to be a cluster, you know what? So
Yeah,
it's all a problem.
That's 58 bikes. I mean, what are you talking about? There's not
Yeah,
going to be
right.
cars.
I would contact Cully and maybe see if there can be some parking spaces, at least for those apartment cars, that they could have a lot of some sort and get them off. And that would be helpful for business on Fremont.
David Sweet is against cars and parking,
Yeah, well,
even though he has a parking space where he lives.
but if the businesses in his neighborhood on the north side of Fremont contacted the neighborhood association, they might have to do something.
True.
So do I hear a motion?
I think the laws should be enforced. That's what I think. We have an existing law, whatever it is, should be enforced.
The 15 or the 20 foot.
I don't know what the existing law is. All I know is that whatever the existing law is, it's not enforced. People park up right up to the sidewalks that many.
I guess I'm one for finding some sort of a win-win type of compromise.
Yeah, but you're not going to get an engineer to compromise safety. If they have determined there's a certain feat, the city has already been sued for deaths at
I
intersections.
understand that, but if they take a 20-foot parking place away, maybe they can find a place to put another 20-foot parking place. It might not be right on Fremont. It might be behind one of the businesses on the north side, or more angle parking or something like that. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, when I go to a business, I don't necessarily expect to park right in front, but if I can park within a block or two of it, that's great.
Yeah, well, for Eclectic Kitchen in particular, if you look right behind that building, it's all paved. There's a big parking lot between that business. There's a parking lot and an entrance into that duplex behind. There probably 10 cars could park back there if it was situated, painted correctly. And then the next building to the south, the next house to the south. It's kind of surprising. I was shocked, and it made me nervous. I didn't want to walk in there. I felt like I was walking through a parking lot and then going to someone's private property to reach what looked like the entrances to that duplex.
Interesting. Okay.
So they might actually have a resolution to their own particular parking problem if they have one. But
Okay,
it's,
so we have a motion that the law should be enforced, whatever the law is on the books.
existing
have a-
law.
Do we have a second?
Are you writing a letter about this or what?
I'm going to forward it to the board. And I hadn't heard any other vehicle other than, that this should be done. And so I heard previously from Sharon that she said both. We should send a letter as well as put it on the internet comment line.
That's a PBOT comment line?
Yeah.
To enforce existing law.
Okay, I second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So raise your hand. 1, 2. I
have to, no, I'm still too confused on, I think, the issue. So I'm not sure. I have to refrain.
I would have to abstain on this one too, because I think there's more to it than just enforcing the law.
Well, first of all, it's an ordinance, so that only the city can do that, and the city's completely incompetent. They're not enforcing anything.
That's
So,
part of the problem. I agree with you, Michelle.
I mean, it's like, you guys,
we're wasting our time. I know we're talking about if they do, maybe they will.
Well, ordinances are weird things. They can certainly be changed. I think we make a motion to how do you change the ordinance to something that is already written that they should be implementing? I don't know. That's the quandary. Is
Well,
like how
they are cutting
right
costs.
into the ordinance, to have it be enforced. Like, I don't know.
Maybe PBOT should just come out then. Emily and her husband came to either the board or the land use committee and expressed concern about that intersection.
And
really-
I told her about the comment link, and she went ahead and made her comment.
Okay,
So-
but she also asked for neighborhood support about that. I don't remember if she
Right.
said Vision Zero or asked them to enforce existing law or ordinances. I'm honestly,
The
if
thing
that is on the books, I can't believe that any of you would vote against that. If someone was killed at that intersection and existing ordinance wasn't enforced and we said, no, don't enforce the existing ordinance, I just don't think that's not responsible at all.
No.
I would support a vision triangle. The original approval last time was a vision triangle, but we didn't know that Vision Zero existed, okay? But I think the vision triangle is the older form that says, yeah, we need to have it set back 15 feet, maybe 10 feet from the corner.
A vision triangle is part of Vision Zero. Vision Zero is a bigger thing.
Vision Zero is just a philosophy of adoption of a bunch of programs and rules and ordinances and guidelines so that you do not have any pedestrian fatalities. So
Period.
There is a language in there that says 20 feet from the skirting of the crosswalk
yes.
back would be no parking.
For a reason, because people take their life in their hands trying to innocently cross the road.
But the fact is, there's a crosswalk just 20 feet away from this corner. Okay.
The bigger,
So there is a place where they're supposed to cross.
The bigger issue here is if PBOT comes out and looks at this intersection, are they going to look at 51st, 52nd, 50th?
Yes.
Are they
Yes.
47th? And,
Yes.
and you could have, 20 parking places removed which I don't necessarily disagree with,
I
if
do.
they are replaced someplace.
They will not be.
And that's the problem. And
Yeah.
that's hurting the business community. And the business community are part of our neighborhood association, at least the ones on the south side of the street. So we need to hear what they have to say as well. And that's why I say I think that any letter that would go to PBOT has to be, say, work with the Fremont business community.
Who's going to work with them?
PBOT, even though they may ignore it, that's what we're saying they should do.
Well, fine. That flyers were sent to them. One person called in, one business called in. They were notified. If it's an existing ordinance and it's safety, not only for pedestrians in crosswalks, but also for people in cars, if they want to, just put a blockade there so no one connects it back onto Fremont, okay, do that. But it's a safety issue.
Well,
And
if the bicyclists had their way, they'd kick out all the parking on Fremont and put in bike lanes.
I don't care about them today. The only thing I care about is a car.
Sharon, just remember too, though. I think I support this, but I have several complaints that I dug up to PBOT in the city of Portland about the intersection here by me, and children were crossing the street, Sharon, and there's no crosswalk and no markings and nobody slowing down in an emergency egress corridor, and somebody was killed. And my emails went to them and they went unanswered, and then they got killed. And here we are in 2020 and it's still not fixed. Wow. So these are the kinds of things right now that I think without the neighborhood, basically, I mean, we can recommend and we can say enforce, but it does require that whole area to basically do a city repair project or something that's significant that takes the street back and says, this is what we want to do with it. That's the only thing I'm going to listen to at the end of the day.
Right.
That's don't matter. They've implemented several Vision Zero throughout the city, and we've actually had an increase in pedestrian deaths in the last year. So, this Vision Zero stuff is not also correct, I guess. That's where I'm going. Like there's things in there. It's a carpet bag program, in my opinion. They take it to this city and they take it to that city and they take it to this city and they try to roll it out and say, this is how you're going to improve the safety in your neighborhood. But it doesn't mean there's science or evidence design behind that implementation, because every situation's unique.
That's right. That is exactly right. I'm not a traffic engineer. The onus is on the city. Someone has come to the land use committee or the neighborhood association expressing concern. And I think it is our responsibility to put it back to the city. If there is an existing law or an existing ordinance that would help improve traffic safety, I'm not an engineer, then I think they need to be noticed, notified, and asked to enforce existing. And then, frankly, we've done our part. Yeah. But for us to say no, when someone's come to us about a safety issue, and to say no, that we're not going to ask the city to enforce existing ordinances, I just think that's wrong.
We're not saying no, Sharon. We're saying
you are.
We're saying, look, you're creating another problem, and let's find a solution for the entire problem, not all of it. And we had more than one person, because Deb is a member of our neighborhood association, and I'm assuming the gentleman that called in talking about the bus and whatnot also. So we've actually had 3 people come to us at this point.
Well, it was Emily and her husband who came about the safety issue. Deb was concerned about losing parking. She didn't say anything about safety. The other fellow implied safety when he said, remember, there's going to be an additional 58 cars parked. So he's implying that. He didn't say one way or the other. I'm sticking with Emily and her husband. They came with a safety issue. I agree that there's a safety issue. If there's an existing ordinance, they need to enforce the existing ordinance. If they want to change it to Vision Zero and make it an additional X number of feet and 20 feet, that's not my problem. If they could collaborate with the business district, collaborate with businesses and property owners on the north side of Fremont in the Cully neighborhood and maybe provide a parking lot or a parking space. Someone would make a lot of money if they would build a building to house park cars there.
Well, one thing also is they have that driveway cut. And if they go to the city and say, we want to be able to park here in front of our own, you know, or remove that driveway cut and allow parking, then they actually get 2 parking spaces in front of their building at this point.
Who would have to fill that? Who would have to fill it up, fill the curb up?
I don't know.
And then you'd have to how the people in the duplex would have access to their back. Currently, they get it behind Eclectic, but I have no idea by what rights they are able to do that.
Well, all I know is the driveway cut in along Fremont doesn't go anywhere because that's where the duplexes are. And
well, if they cleared out the garbage cans and stuff, there's a big gate there. So if you open that gate, you could drive through. It's kind of like a carport, and that carport appeared to attach to Eclectic. That's why I wasn't sure if they were related to each other.
Got it.
But you could drive. You actually could drive through that cut under that carport into the back area, but that gate is closed, and there's no.
Okay.
So they must go around onto 50th and go behind Eclectic. You'd be
Well,
surprised.
we've got 10 more minutes left in the meeting.
Yeah, and that's about left on battery time.
So Michelle,
Yeah.
do you want me to go ahead and run the question again? And
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
We
you.
have a motion on the floor again, if I have an agreement with Sharon, and that would be that the law be enforced at this intersection for the setback for parking along Fremont. And for them to, and this is the addition that Terry made, would work with the Beaumont Business Association.
Yes.
With the implementation. Okay, so there's a motion, and I believe Kelly seconded it.
Yes.
So
And,
mine's a friendly amendment, right? That's
Right.
acceptable. Okay, all right.
And so all those in favor say aye.
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 Yes.
Okay. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Terry, are you opposed?
No, I said aye
Oh, you did. Okay.
because it was a friendly amendment. I'm sorry. I guess I didn't wave.
You didn't
supposed to
wait. I
wait.
didn't know.
And
Okay.
I've only got about 7 or 8 minutes left on my battery to.
Well, we've only got 8 minutes left on the meeting.
Okay.
So let's go on to what, if anything, we want to do about the nuisance property.
Oh, poor Michelle.
Michelle,
I'm moving. Painting.
know.
And moving, painting and moving. I don't know. I don't know really what we can do, guys. I mean, it's a
Is your
boy.
house up for sale?
Not yet. We were trying to maybe get it at the end of next week, but I think it's going to be the end of the month. I think it's going to be June 30th. It'll get listed. So the realtor wants everything perfect and shiny, and I get agitated because I'm like, but I'm a Gen X and got everything crappy, and so now I have to sell it all nice. Are you kidding me? So that's my like.
Well, you
main
just have to tell her this is what you got.
But
I'm done with it.
yeah. I mean, they kept us up last night. We called non-emergency. They don't answer. They don't stop by. He's violating his parole with the noise violation. He was playing his drums at 2:30 in the morning. He thought that was a perfect hour to be playing methamphetamine riddled drum solos over and over again for an hour. So yeah.
I still would love for you to join me in a discussion with Dembro on this.
Yeah, of course. I will join any discussion, and I would love to still, I mean, this committee, I really like this committee a lot, and maybe the board wasn't so much for me, but so I think I should probably formally resign, or I don't know when the votes are, but I like the committee a lot because I've been exposed to so much more that I hear about in my job. I don't always deal with it, but I know there's ways I can follow it up and learn a lot more. And you guys help me get through the personal side of that, not the law, not the ordinance, not the business. It's the people and all of us together, how we can maybe change that. So I like this committee a lot for that reason. But
So you can't
I
move. Forget moving. No
well,
moving.
no, I just
No
learned
more.
there's a little place of Portland in Washington County. Did you know this? I didn't know this.
Yes.
There's a little tiny
There's
slice of
also,
Portland.
there's also a place in Clackamas County in Portland.
Yes.
What I would like is a motion to support the idea that I go ahead and make a meeting with Dembro on behalf of the neighborhood to meet and have Michelle there so we can present what she's gone through and ask for his help.
Yes.
I will
Great.
support a motion like that, or make the motion that you just made.
Okay,
I second it.
all those in favor? Aye.
I gotta go. My battery's telling me I can't go any further.
Looks like
Okay,
an
hon.
alien coming to get you.
Thank you, Terry.
Sorry.
Bye.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
So it's a meeting with Michael Dembrow.
Dembro,
Dembro.
Okay.
he's our state senator.
Dembrow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, everybody I tell, just uses the same term over and over. It sounds like a nightmare. And then they like to talk about Breaking Bad, which I didn't watch. And it's, there's a lot of people, again, it goes back to, it's methamphetamines. Like, how are we allowing this to just operate and be and exist and I think, I don't know, Tamara, if you read some of those letters, which were so great from my neighbors.
Yeah.
And I loved what one of my neighbors said about how, it's different when you live next door to it, basically. Like, people really don't understand. And with these recent DA, the DA getting voted in that I didn't vote for again, and all this, people don't understand. At the same time, they're posting about porch pirates, and I'm like, well, come get your package in my backyard. And because that's where they're bringing it,
You
so
probably have my catalytic converter.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they are responsible for a ton of crime. And the police never once, they've never frisked, we called once and he had just come back. He didn't know the police had showed up. We had called. The police lazily finally showed up. He had taken off around the corner to one of the drop-off sites of the several drop-off sites that still exist. And he was coming back and he lifted his hands up right away and sat down and was like, I'm going to move. And like, I know he had drugs on him and he's on probation and they didn't even frisk him. They didn't even ask to frisk him. And I don't understand this. It's very disconcerting, but that's what we're dealing with. And these protests aren't helping me right now. As much as I have a lot of respect for protesting and it needs to be done, but for Ted Wheeler to just take his whole police force and put it at this and leave the rest of us struggling with everyday nuisance
Nightmares.
Yeah,
It is nightmare.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
but yeah, anything you guys have suggestions of that I haven't done or haven't tried?
Yeah, let's try Senator
you know-
Dembro. He's great. I'm in touch with him regularly. He's very
Yeah.
responsive. Let's just
He's a
pick
very
his brain.
responsive guy. So,
Very.
okay.
All right.
All right. Is there anything else good for the order tonight?
Can't think of anything except stay healthy. Don't let your guards up, people.
Yes.
Guards down.
Yeah. Don't
guards
let your
up.
guards down. Keep your guards up. Don't let your guards down. Tomorrow is day one of something
Mask
that's
up, everyone. Mask up.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 All right.
My daughter lives in Union County. They
Oh,
just
no.
had a Pentecostal church
Oh,
with
yeah.
250 people.
Yeah, my sister-in-law had to shut down her business. She did it voluntarily initially, and they've, it's just terrible.
It is hard.
And they did it in defiance. And before they even went into phase one, they had way over the number of people that could be there even in phase one. So,
So finally, just to let you know, Ed got on and enabled the chat feature. So we've been open for about a half an
There you
hour
go.
of chatting. I don't have any chats.
No chats because no one knew it's on.
oh boy,
So
All right.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
okey doke.
All right.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you. Okay,
Bye.
All right.
bye.